everybody, and welcome to Volume 2 of Hampton University's State of the Athletic Department discussion. I'm Sean Robertson. Great to be joined again by the Athletic Director of Hampton University, Anthony Henderson. We are here at the Convocation Center as we look back at what was a historic winter season for track and field as well as basketball, and we look ahead to a very important spring sports season here at Hampton University. And like we said, we're joined by the AD here at Hampton University, Anthony Henderson. Thank you as always for spending a few moments with us to talk about the athletic department.
I appreciate you coming down. This, I think, was well received the first time we did it. So I appreciate you coming to facilitate again. Hopefully we can continue to put these out to give an update on the department so people can get an idea of what's going on.
My pleasure to talk about Hampton University athletics and what a great winter sports season it was. We're going to start with the women's track and field program, who made some history, made some CAA conference history a few weeks ago in Virginia Beach. Yep. You were there. You got to see the women win their first ever CAA indoor track and field championship, and it came down to the very last event of the championships, the 4x400 meter relay. What was going through your mind in that final event, and then finding out that Hampton University was able to capture the championship?
Well, even before it got to the point of them running, we knew we had to edge Elon. Elon was ahead of us. So when it came down to the 4x4, it was stressful. You're sitting there adding numbers. The coaches are adding things up, see what place you have to finish, what place Elon has to finish. And Elon ran, so anybody that hasn't been to the indoor, they don't all run at the same time. So Elon had run the heat before us. So they knew kind of where Elon finished and what they had to do to secure the championship overall. So you're just sitting there on pins and needles until it's over. And luckily we finished second, which gave us 3 more points than Elon to win the overall championship. But no, it was amazing to see those young ladies and all the work they put in. They've come, since I've been here in the outdoor, we've come really, really close. I think we finished second for a couple years in the outdoor. So to see them finish and actually get the championship and the first championship in the CAA for the university, it was a great feeling.
We got to give props to Brianna Charles, because her anchor leg time of 53:28 allowed Hampton to finish second in that event. They won the championships by 3.5 points over Elon after starting the event down 2.5 points. So they were able to win that championship down in Virginia Beach. And also congratulations to Panaya Mutisha, who broke 2 meet records in the 3,000 and 5,000 meter events. She broke the school record in the 5,000 meters by nearly 2 minutes and broke the CAA record by almost 15 seconds. You mentioned she lapped the field. It was almost like Katie Ledecky in swimming.
It was unbelievable to watch her run. I mean, to see her and just how she's out there and she's striding, and like I said, she lapped a couple of the young ladies in that race. She's unbelievable to watch in the distance runs. We haven't, I'm not going to put this much pressure on her, but
you're going to.
I'm going to. Coach Pierce has produced Olympians here while he's been here. She has the potential to potentially be our next Olympian, the way she actually runs in those events. So we're excited she's young and she's going to be here for a while.
LA Games are in 2028. Remember this. Keep that receipt just in case. So speaking about Coach Pierce, he was the men's head coach of the World Athletic Indoor Championships in China last month. Will work with the sprints and hurdles. It's the 6th time he has been on this international stage, the 3rd time as a head coach. That's got to do tremendous things, not only for him individually, but for the university as a whole, for him to be on that stage.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, it provides unbelievable exposure for the university. He's kind of old hat at this.
Yeah.
He's been on a couple of international teams, and to be the head coach, looking at the assistants that are on that team, they're all Power 4 assistants. So for
Colorado was one.
Colorado's one. Ohio State's one. I forgot what the third one is, but they're all Power 4 programs. And to have our head coach be the head coach of the indoor team is phenomenal. Like I said, it does a lot from an exposure standpoint for the university, and I think it just sets our track program apart. Provides recruiting, benefits to recruiting and those type of things. So, he does a great job. He's been doing a great job for 20 plus years now. A lot of people don't even know, and I'm dating myself a little bit here. Coach Pierce was coming in as an assistant, I think my junior year when I was here playing football. So he's been here for an extended period of time.
When we talked the first time we met, time we met, and he told me, I think he was 25, 30 years, something like that. I was like, you can't be that old.
Yeah.
You can't be that old. But it shows you the commitment he has to the program and the fact that, like I said, coming from an HBCU to be the head coach on that stage when you got other Power 4, Power 5 programs says a lot about what he has done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the thing about Coach Pierce, he's a local guy. He's from Newport News. He went to Norfolk State. He loves the school and loves the area. So he's had opportunities where he could have gone other places, but he's stayed here and chosen to build our program into what he's built it into, and I'm appreciative of it.
Absolutely. Congratulations to all of those individuals for a great indoor season for the women, and also for Coach Pierce for what he has done individually and also for the program. We're going to talk about some basketball since we're here at the Convocation Center and the great job that Coach Thomas and also Coach Augustin did in their first year as head coaches for the men and the women's basketball team. The women had an improvement, a win total. They finished with 8 wins, 5 more than what they did the year prior. 2 road wins to include a Power 5 road win at Georgia under Coach Augustin, also winning a tournament game in the CAA. Okay, 8 wins probably don't say a lot, but for what she was able to do in her first year as a first-time head coach at the collegiate level, to get 5 more wins from the year before says a lot.
It does. It does. As we hired both of those coaches when they came in, when the preseason polls came out, we were both picked to finish 14th in both of those polls. So the work that both of them put in, and from the women's side, since we're talking about the women right now, for them to win 5 more games than they won last year, and not just to win 5 more games. There were a lot of games that we were in that we were probably 2 or 3 points away from the ball bouncing a different way. We could have won more. When Mary wins the conference championship, we take them to overtime. So looking back on that game, that shows you kind of where we are as a program. And the CAA, and I think William Mary proved it by winning it.
How about that run?
They're a 9 seed. So that shows you that in our league, there's not a lot of separation from top to bottom. A&T kind of ran the table as the number 1 team, but they've been kind of dominant as far as the season went, but they end up losing to William Mary in the tournament, and William Mary goes on a run and wins the whole thing. And we look at ourselves compared to them, they're right down the street. Like I said, we took them to overtime earlier this season. It's been a really competitive series. I don't think we're that far away. Should be going into year 2 with an off season, another year of recruiting, and hopefully we'll have better results, even better results next year.
A lot of optimism for the women's team going into 25. But let's talk about the men and the job that Coach Thomas did in his first season. First collegiate head coaching job after a great stint at Providence and also as Georgetown as an assistant. Finished with their first winning record since 2018-19, the 17 wins, 8 more than the previous season. They finished the regular season winning 5 of 6, also winning a tournament game, and the most wins in the conference in the CAA era, finished 8-10. You mentioned they were picked to finish last. They finished 10th overall. What can you say about the job that Coach Thomas did?
Unbelievable. Kind of expected them to be better than last year. I don't think anybody expected us to win 17 games. I'll just be honest. If we came in and we won 15, that would have been a market improvement. Also, we forgot to mention he was named a finalist for the Ben Jobe Award.
That's right.
Which is the best first-year head coach in collegiate basketball. So they're going to announce that at the Final Four. And hopefully he comes away with that award.
That would be
as well.
huge if he can get that.
Yeah, but I mean, similar to Tamisha, like he came in and built the program a little bit different than she did. He actually had 13 new guys.
That's right.
So with the entirely new roster, getting those guys to gel, we had some bumps early on, but played Providence really tough at the beginning of the season. But towards the end of the season, they gelled. Winning 5 of the last 7 in the regular season. And then winning the tournament game and actually having a chance to win 2 tournament games. We just couldn't put it together against Wilmington. Once again we lost on the men's side to the team that won it all. But yeah, I'm really excited about kind of where we are and where we're headed. He's another one, already hit the road recruiting. He came to the women's tournament, which was really impressive. Came to the first game that they won because he was already recruiting in DC, so coming to support the women. So the good thing, it's a lot of camaraderie when it comes to both programs. They share an office, so they're right there together all the time, and I think they kind of pull from each other and talk to each other. So building that program or building both programs, they both kind of bought into what they were brought here for. So I'm really excited about both of those programs.
And the big thing, you mentioned the Bouncers not going for the women's way. They could have easily won maybe 12, 13 games. Men could have easily won 20, 21 games.
We could have easily been in the top four. Top four, which in the CAA is big because you get the double bye. You don't play until Sunday.
Yep.
So we were a bounce away. You think about the Towson game that we lost to the #1 team in the league, the Drexel game. Those last two games of the regular season actually make a dip. It could have put us where we were.
The William and Mary game.
The William and Mary game here that we lost by 1. You know, a couple of those balls bounced another way, and we're looking at a top four finish in the league and probably 10 or 12 wins in conference. So, yeah, I think the future's bright for men's basketball and women's basketball, and we're excited about where we're going.
The biggest thing for those two coaches to do this offseason would be what?
I think the biggest thing from my perspective, I think they both have some really good cores right now. You look at the men's, I don't think there'll be that many young men that come in this year as opposed to last year, have a really good core. So adding to that core, filling the pieces and the holes that we have, I think we need some more backcourt help, probably another big shooters, definitely.
Yeah.
But I know Coach knows what those holes are, so he's already on the road trying to fill those. I think from the women's side, you might see a little bit more from an incoming player perspective. You know, she chose to keep some of the upperclassmen from Coach Six's team. So now with some of those young ladies leaving, she gets to put even more of her imprint on this team. So I'd be interested to see what she brings in and kind of how she builds it moving forward. But similar shooters, a couple of bigs, because I think the backcourt was one of our strengths on the women's side. We didn't have a lot of size. So going and kind of building that size, getting some shooters on the women's side, and I think it puts us right where we need to be.
And Dabo played pretty well at some stretches
she did.
For the team. Real quick, talking about the men, congrats to Noah Farrakhan, third team All-CAA. Also DJ Daniel Johnson, he made the All-Rookie team this past season for the men. We're going to talk about spring sports, and we don't really talk a lot about sailing here at Hampton University, but they started off the season making some history themselves. They won the Tom Noble team race. It was the first time they ever won a team race, and on top of that, they went undefeated in the meet. They went 7-0, first time that had ever happened for Hampton University sailing to go undefeated in a meet, and they were able to do that in the very first event of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sailing's one of our best kept secrets. Like, they've been really successful for a long time, but it's not one of those sports that gets a lot of the limelight. You don't hear a lot about it unless we're the ones actually promoting the wins. But Coach Ambrosi does a phenomenal job with that group. You know, to your point, they just started the season, so we look for even more success out of them moving forward. I think they actually have one home meet this year. They had one last year, one home regatta last year that they won. So they're one of our more successful teams when it comes to the programs that we have.
And the spring sports season is still in full swing with softball and also lacrosse and other sports. Which one you got to maybe keep your eye on a little closely for the spring sports?
Well, you talk about indoor track, we might as well move outdoor track.
I guess so, yeah.
Because they've finished second a couple times. I think he has a couple of pieces that he didn't have previously that may help us and push us over the top. So I'd love for them to get their second ring this year, which would be phenomenal. Our new softball coach, Coach Tarvin, is doing a phenomenal job with softball. Played some really tough games early in the season. So now they're in conference play. So I'd be interested to see how they finish up, but they're doing a phenomenal job as well. Yeah, I mean, spring sports, and then you have spring football. You got
I was going to mention it, yeah.
Spring soccer schedule, we got 3 games here on campus. I think 2 on campus, 1 on the road, I'm sorry. But yeah, spring is a busy time. You know, the winter you kind of get a little bit to catch your breath because you only have basketballs going on. Now we have track, lacrosse, soccer, softball, spring football, all of those things. So all of those, you know, keep us busy.
Well, let's talk about spring football because it's getting to be a very important spring with your football program. That's starting up, and the spring game is going to be April 26th. We've had a little bit of some transition with players going into the portal, leaving some guys coming out of the portal and coming to Hampton. How big is this spring going to be for Hampton football?
I think it's going to be huge. We talked a little bit last time about kind of how we finished. Once again, the ball bounced in a couple of ways and may have been a different season for them. We're going to have about 30 new guys. When you talk about the incoming transfers in the first transfer portal window, the freshmen that signed on the 5th, and then you got another transfer portal window coming after spring football. So we're going to have a team. I think we're still going to have a good core of guys that were already here, but we're going to have a lot of new guys. One specifically at the quarterback position.
I was going to talk about that.
So that's going to be big for us, and how that quarterback position is kind of solidified. It's an ongoing battle right now. I know nobody's really named a starter, but we brought in some really good players at that position. Had a really good young guy that was already here that is going to be fighting for that position as well. And then you got a freshman coming from Richmond that's going to come in and battle as well. So I think that quarterback position is going to be really important for us. But we're still going to be Hampton. We're still going to run the football. We're still going to play good defense and see how far that takes us.
First full year for Coach Boykin as the head coach. You took the interim tag from him mid-season, got the 5 wins, matching the win total from a year ago. Do you notice anything different about him and how he is handling things and running things now as the head coach of Hampton University?
You know what? The good thing about it is I don't think he's changed anything. He treated the interim position like he was the full-time head coach, so I don't think he's changed much. I will say this spring has been different than the other springs since I've been here, just from an organizational standpoint, just from a promotion standpoint, looking at kind of how they're putting things together. He's already announced his camps for the summer. So just the things that to build the program for the future. We talk about recruiting and getting kids on campus and those type things. He's really embraced that piece of it, I think more so than it has been in the past here. So I look for that to kind of bear some fruit moving forward. But as far as the football piece, like I said, he treated the position like he was the head, like he was the permanent head football coach from the time he got the position. So he hasn't really changed much.
Gotcha. Before we wrap up our second edition of the State of the Athletic Department discussion, we have an update on the NCAA House resolution. We touched on that briefly in our first discussion. Now, not only Hampton, but every school in the CAA decided to opt in the House versus NCAA settlement. And what that means is each school within the conference will now have the opportunity to provide payments directly to the students, not only NIL, but also scholarships as well. So this is an outside payment other than the NIL and also the scholarships. The biggest change, and we touched on that before we came on, is how each school must comply to a new roster limit as opposed to the scholarship cap. And we're going to let you explain the significant difference for those on the outside and what they will see and how different, the big difference that will be for each sport.
Well, the good thing is we've been preparing for this. So to your point, now moving forward, as soon as the House settlement gets ratified and goes through, now students have the opportunity to benefit financially in a multitude of ways. So additional academic benefits, schools have additional scholarships they can provide. You have the direct compensation piece. The outside of the NIL, you have the direct compensation piece, which is part of revenue share. So you have all these different buckets now to where you can provide additional financial benefits to student athletes. The roster limit that you were speaking of, now instead of having equivalency in head count sports, and to explain for people that don't understand, head count sports are sports that everyone has a full scholarship, i.e. men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball. So all 15 players have full scholarships. Equivalency sports, baseball for example, you have 11.7 scholarships to spread across your entire roster. So you may give a player here $2,500, you may give a player $5,000. Now all of that goes away. You have a roster cap. So football, for example, some schools were carrying 120, 130 kids. Now you can only carry 105. Regardless of what school you are, where you are. The difference is you could only provide 85 scholarships at the FBS level, 63 at the FCS level, which you could spread across 85 equivalencies, as they call them. Now schools have pretty much the discrepancy to actually fund however many scholarships they want within that cap. So if I want to give 105 scholarships, I can give 105 scholarships. If I want to do 75 scholarships, I can give 75 scholarships. It's up to the school's discretion, how they're going to fund their teams moving forward. That's going to be interesting because each school prioritizes each different sports differently. So in our league, for example, Charleston, which is really good in baseball, may want to they don't have football. They may want to prioritize baseball. So up to, I think their roster cap now is like 28
for baseball.
So now instead of having the 11.7 in baseball, they could decide they want to fund 28 scholarships in baseball. For us, track is really important to us. So we may look at track and say, hey, we have an opportunity to provide more scholarships to track as opposed to volleyball, which may not be as important on the scale of things. And we haven't decided exactly how we're going to break it down yet. The basketballs aren't going to be affected. The one thing is with men's basketball, they only had 13 scholarships previously. So now their roster cap's going to be 15. Women will stay at 15. They were already at 15 and 15 scholarships, so nothing changes for them. Coaches are actually thinking about whether they want the other two on the men's side. I've heard this conversation. In basketball, do they want the other two scholarships? Or do they want to keep 2 spots for walk-ons?
I was going to say, well, how would that be?
Yeah, so that's kind of up to each school's discretion as well. So I know here, Coach Thomas and I have talked about it. Right now, he's going to keep it at 13.
Okay.
And keep the 2 spots for walk-ons, which I think is the right thing to do. But also in this new age of college basketball, it's hard enough to keep 13 scholarship guys happy. Do you really want to try to keep 15 scholarship guys happy? So it's going to be interesting to see how schools kind of navigate and move when it comes to that. But that's where we are. Like it's the new age of Division I athletics, and I appreciate the presidents and the CAA all coming together to decide this is what we want to do as a league. We're going to move forward as a league with this, and we're going to be competitive and compete at whatever this new Division I looks like, and try to be the best we can at it.
How does your role change now in making those tough decisions? Because now it's almost like for you and now other ADs, you have to prioritize which sport,
what's important.
I was going to say it is the most important in your department.
Yeah, I think at our level, at the FCS level, it's not like FBS, right? Because FBS football is the tail wagging the dog.
Yep.
At our level at FCS, football is still important, but for us, it's men's and women's basketball, because that provides, from a financial standpoint, the opportunity for the most revenue. You go to the tournament, you win a game in a tournament, you get units that are $2.1 million per win. So that, from a that's real money at the end of the day. So that's where when you're making decisions, what's your return on investment? So my investment is going to be where we're going to get the best return. And as a league,
I was going to say
that's one of the things that the CAA basketball, men's and women's basketball is a priority for us as a league.
And also, real quick, each member school, if say UNC Wilmington does well in the tournament, doesn't each member school get a piece of the unit as well?
Yeah, there's a formula, because the units are paid out over 6 years. There's a formula that the conference has, how the distribution is made to each individual school. And it just depends. Some of it's for academics. Some of it, of course, the school that actually goes and wins gets a larger percentage. So it's a really convoluted formula as to how each school gets.
But everybody get a little piece.
Everybody participates in those units when the school wins. So it's in everybody's best interest to be good in basketball, to try to advance, to get as many units as they can.
Interesting. Before we let you go, we got to mention about the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that was posted on the website. The Hampton University Hall of Fame applications are accepted right now, and they're up until April 26th.
Yes.
So that's right around the corner.
Yep. And the thing about the Hall of Fame, since I'm an alum, I get all why isn't such and such in the Hall of Fame? Why isn't such and such in the Hall of Fame? Because no one nominated them. So if you have somebody that you think should or deserves to be in the Hampton Hall of Fame, that's why we have the nomination process. We put together a really good board. Actually, all the people on the board, or the selection committee, most of them are Hall of Famers already. Coach Taylor's on it. We have other folks that are on it that are in the Hall of Fame. So it's not just me sitting in the back room picking who's going in, this person. We actually have a group of folks that make those selections. But we can't make the selections if people don't nominate the people that should be in. I get this all the time as a former football player. There are a lot of my teammates that probably deserve to be in, but I can't nominate them. It's kind of a conflict of interest for me. So
somebody else outside of the board or the committee has to
submit those nominations. So we'd like for everyone to submit those nominations, anybody they think is deserving, so we can actually make sure that Hall of Fame is reflective of the best of Hampton University athletics.
So please go to the website and get the nomination form, download the nomination form, and get it back as soon as possible. April 26th is the last day to submit nominations, and the actual Hall of Fame ceremony is when?
What is our first football game? September against Elizabeth City.
Okay.
I think it's September.
First Saturday in September?
Second Saturday.
Second Saturday in September.
Yep. Second Saturday in September, because we open with Jackson State. So it'll be
on the road.
next
That's
game.
right.
Yep.
That's right. Well, Anthony, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you for spending a few minutes to give us a perspective on the athletic department, and we'll hopefully do it again in a couple of months to talk about the meat of spring football and also outdoor track and field, see if we can get another championship here at Hampton University.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming down.
No problem. Hey, thank you for joining us for another perspective of the Hampton University State of the Athletic Department perspective. Join us in a couple of months. We'll do it all over again. For the AD of Hampton University, Anthony Henderson, I'm Sean Robertson. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.